Hello, everybody. This is the Quest for the Best Director podcast. I'm Matthew Moore. He's a guy who does, in fact, have an eraser for a head. Caleb, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm terrified of babies too in real life.
Yeah, Eraserhead was like a hard movie to come up with like a joke for because it's like it's kind of just like a joke in and of itself. Like not like it's a bad movie, but just it lends itself
Yeah,
so easily that it's like almost impossible.
I see what
So,
you mean.
but Caleb, before we earlier today, seduced of a lower class than me, a lower podcasting class, into doing a podcast with him. Finds out because if anyone finds out about this, then both you and I could be in trouble, Caleb. Okay, but for now, here is Derek Trzynski. Derek,
Yo, what's up? It's me, your boy, missing a head.
Derek, I hope you know I podcast for love. Okay, or you know,
Hmm.
forced into it. I only podcast for love. So
Alright, I'm gonna go hang out with Lord whose name I forgot.
yeah, yeah, is my best impression of it. As for the Best Director podcast, this week it is Kenji Mizoguchi's and his film Life of Oharu versus David Lynch, his film Eraserhead.
Mm-hmm.
Life of Oharu is about a woman named Oharu who has a terrible life at every turn. She was a noblewoman who ended up becoming a common street prostitute.
There's some things in between there too, but that's the full
Obviously.
that's from one end to the next. That's
Yeah, it was hard to can't go through every single thing. But Eraserhead, it's a harder movie to describe. It's about a guy that's probably not actually supposed to represent a baby. It's all metaphorical. It's just like a like ish, like very experimental David Lynch film. That's all you need to know. For now, we'll go into it more, of course.
I kind of
Uh,
debate some of the things you said in that sentence, but I guess we can get into that later.
yeah, of course. But this is the Quest for the Best Director podcast. This is each of these directors' third best movies because this is the quarterfinal round. This will have two rounds left. Semifinals, where their second best movie will match up against Woody Allen's Manhattan. We're getting down to it on the final director in the semifinals. You guys excited?
Yes, this matchup was so good too. Like both of these movies were amazing.
Definitely both slapped. So which one do you guys want to start with?
we can start with the hard one, which is Eraserhead, probably.
You want to go Eraserhead first? I kind of agree that this one is the one. Not that it warrants more discussion, but that it, I think, is the one that I was telling Derek earlier. Actually, like variance and like where I end up thinking about this movie. Like I'm more set on how I feel about Life of Horror, but I don't exactly know how I feel about Eraserhead. So Caleb, what'd you
Interesting.
think?
I thought it was extremely, extremely good. It's funny and horrifying at the same time. It does this really cool kind of like twist on the horror movie trope where it's basically a horror movie except the horror movie the horror monster is like this baby that's like completely vulnerable and helpless, which is such an inversion, right? Because usually like the monster in a horror movie is like invincible and it's going to kill everybody, but in this case it's so vulnerable but it's also so terrifying at the same time. And it does a lot of the same things that horror movies will typically do with their movie monsters, where they'll first show you a little bit and then kind of like reveal it slowly over the course of the movie to like keep building suspense. Same here, right? Like they kind of first just show you little hints of the monster that is the baby, and then slowly reveal more and more over time. So like maintaining genre conventions while also like inverting some is pretty damn cool.
They also kind of exaggerate drama conventions too, right? Especially when it comes to sound.
Mm-hmm.
is almost more heightened, which of course makes everything that goes on in this movie even more ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think this inversion accomplishes in kind of like a greater sense? Like, what did you get out of this whole like inversion of the horror movie genre?
Um, hmm. Well, I mean, to begin with, I think it just makes the monster effective, right? Like, um, it makes this monster seem terrifying that they use these like tried and true techniques to like make a monster scary. That they apply it to this baby. I mean, it works just as well as it with this baby as it would with like the alien from Alien or something like that. Like it just becomes this like terrifying thing, but also like it's something that you have to be protective of and familiar with. So like by making it feel as if you have to protect the monster and be familiar with and identify with the monster because it came out of you, that's really clever. And it makes the monster twice as gross, right? Because you're supposed like on the one hand you feel as if you should feel a connection to it, like you feel obligated to feel a connection to the monster, right? Which is something that not any other horror movie that I can think off the top of my head does.
Sure, there are examples, but yeah, for the most part, this is like not common.
Frankenstein.
Like a
That's
horror
true.
movie.
But yeah, because it's a horror story. But even then, Frankenstein's monster isn't the monster of the Frankenstein story.
Yeah.
You could argue that one. You could argue that one both ways, but yeah,
Yeah.
necessarily. I think another thing it does is I think it kind of puts into question like what is a horror movie because a lot of things he does, like this inversion, what it kind of causes is the traditional narrative, right? Well, there definitely is some sort of narrative, which I think is a commentary in a way on the horror movie genre. It's kind of like bless you. Are you okay?
Mhm.
You leave a podcast successfully?
Mhm. I muted the OBS, but I didn't mute this.
Derek sneezed for the audience out there. And too. It was like something that would have been in Eraserhead, honestly. Could have made a sound effect. I think what it does is reduces the horror movie genre down to like its most basic, right? Which is just dread, you know,
Which is
not
just
wanting
what? You cut out. You said that it reduces it to its most basic, which is
dread.
you did it again. All I heard was Ed.
Yeah, is this better?
Yes, but I still don't know what you said. What did you
The
say?
feeling of dread
Oh, yes, exactly.
reduces it down to this. And I think that's why this movie is so effective.
I think it does a lot more than like just deconstruct a horror movie though, because it also has so many of these like introspective, like psychological scenes where we're sort of like inside of Henry's subconscious or something, like when he's dreaming or having these like fantasies. Um, that I feel like it just has like a whole nother layer to it than like just being a horror movie.
And the symbolism as well, even from the get-go.
Yeah, so
More
actually,
powerful
like,
than a normal horror film.
true. Like, what? I would just be interested to hear your interpretation of like the symbolism of this beginning scene, like since you said from the get-go, because that's like the one thing that I felt a little bit shaky on is like some of this like beginning scene symbolism and like the man with the levers.
Oh, Man with the Lovers is definitely God. Um, and
Okay.
the little creature thing is a sperm going into. He emerges from Spencer's mouth, head of the
Hmm.
penis. And then the man of the planet is what he's casted as. I don't know what that means, to be honest, but
Yeah.
I'm
But that's Leverman, right?
yeah, that's Leverman, and I'm taking him to be God. And then he's
Okay.
controlling this. He's deciding what happens with this sperm. So he, at the very least, Spencer believes that God is in control of what happens to procreation and whatnot. And then eventually, it goes into the pool of water, right?
Yeah.
And pool of water is like birthplace of man, evolution, etc. So I assume that's a symbol for like the embryo.
Yeah, the sperm and the pool of water thing I got, but I didn't get God. That's very interesting. I read some a little bit on the Wikipedia page that said that one analyst said that like the man pulling the levers seemed to be like physically controlling the motions of the sperm.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense.
And then that's pretty much why the reason why I get that more strongly is because of the themes of like light with the lady and the radiator and stuff.
Yeah, wait.
That's
What do you mean with themes of light?
every time she's like shown, it's very bright, especially at the end. It's pure white. Like, classically, if you die, you go to like heaven or whatnot is really bright white and stuff like that. The light at the end of the tunnel.
Do you think the lady in the radiator is like an angel or something then? 'Cause
Yeah,
that's definitely not what I had her as.
either an angel or like maybe like some kind of siren thing going on.
I see. The one big piece of evidence that I could see leaning towards her being an angel is like the song that she sings is called, In Heaven Everything is Fine and all that stuff. So the heaven thing stands up there, but I definitely took her as being like Henry's like anima or like an aspect of his subconscious or like his dream girl kind of thing where like uh the woman that he actually has as his wife is like far from being his ideal woman. But I think that this woman in the radiator like sort of is his like ideal woman
Well,
in a way.
I don't know if she's supposed to be. I didn't get anything that told me that she'd be like that, his ideal woman. But I was getting vibes of the woman across the hall being more like that for sure.
No, I don't think the woman across the hall is an ideal woman because she's much more of like the femme fatale archetype, like sultry and seductive, but like obviously like a sexual figure, right? But
Yeah,
you don't want to settle down and have kids with the femme fatale, right? Like you want to have sex with her, but she's dangerous, right? Like you don't want to get too close. Whereas I think this girl in the radiator, like unlike literally everyone else in this movie, she has this like sense of purity like in her facial expression and her eyes, and she looks so clearly like directly at the camera with these like bright innocent eyes, um, and she definitely I think represents some aspect of the subconscious because she comes out in dreams, so she's like this kind of like dream girl figure, or like girls that show up in your dreams typically are like the ideal image of what you have in your mind for your like perfect partner, right? And then also I think she represents the subconscious because when she does her little dance, she squishes all the little sperm creatures, which represents Henry's desire to uh, kill the baby, right? So she's acting out his subconscious desires because she's an aspect of his
hello.
subconscious. Hi, Matt. I don't know. What do you think about that?
So at first point of like God like ain't dynamic because between the man with the levers and the woman in white towards the end and like the tap dancing woman, I don't know, what are we calling her?
She's the woman in the radiator.
Okay, the woman in the radiator. Is that what Wikipedia says or something?
That's what she's like casted as in the credits, credited as.
Got it. So side because it seems that when things are going catastrophic for the man with like the man in the machine or the man in space or whatever he is, sparks like flying at the end, like his machine or whatever is broken. Like this is all good for the woman in the radiator. You know, like you see her in ecstasy, and she's like over Henry. I definitely don't see like these two being any sort of cahoots. Um,
Well, what do you think about the dream girl subconscious thing?
Oh, okay. I think I get it. Oh, I don't get her, but I get what. So, like, him basically killing the baby goes against God's plan, is what that's saying.
I don't see it as God
Yeah,
though. I I,
that
I
makes sense to me.
I can get more along with Dream Girl subconscious with God, but I don't think it's. I see it, and I think it's like similar to God. You could argue almost, but I see it just as like desire. You know, he is like man's primal urges. Um,
I definitely think
so
there's a similarity to God there, though, right? Like, sort of like this inevitability, fate aspect to things, right? Like man's primal urges, you can't do anything about. They're
yeah,
just
that's what
part
I'm
of your like
saying.
biological destiny.
There's like a similarity there for sure. I feel like if you're saying the point of this movie is that God's controlling everything until he doesn't, like I don't really get that. But what I think it is more like his primal urges are what gets him to have sex. You know, it's because that's why you like procreate. Is because like we have this like primal desire. But then this kind of goes against that we want, right?
Hmm.
And we're a certain maybe not necessarily she's a dream girl, but she is just his fantasy incarnate with like a wife, which in terms of like happiness, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I think those things kind of go together.
I can see that, yeah.
We succumb to these primal urges, right, which like make us have these kids, and then the kind of the joke is that like his life with his child and wife are like actual misery, right? And there's nothing good about this.
Yeah.
Basically, goes against the primal urge. The whole reason you have sex in the first place, right, is to like procreate. He goes against this by killing his offspring.
Hmm.
Happiness, he's able to like be happy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I can see that, because it's like, because of the sound design, it also kind of exemplifies that. The man in the lever and stuff like that, or stuff that's just like generally shitty, like when he's like with the family whatnot, has this very specific like drony sound to it, but when he's like especially at the end with the light stuff, the sounds, no, there's like no droniness or anything like that. You also don't get any droniness when he's with like at the beginning with like when the woman across the hall comes out and stuff like that. So she could definitely, and her in light could definitely be like a symbol of his fantasy and like realization of that is happiness and why he's like with her at the end and stuff. I can dig it.
Yeah, I definitely like this idea of the man with the levers being like some sort of like all it is really, no matter the which way you slice it, is some form of like um forces outside of your control, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Let's see. What other things about this movie? I actually didn't take notes on this movie, so you might have to jog my memory slightly on some of these things.
Derek, do you have a memory jog? I mean, I was thinking this movie to me it's such like a cohesive unit. It's hard to like pick out individual parts.
Yeah, this movie really did a good job of that, right? Like, it felt like every part of the movie just kind of makes sense. Like, it all fits well together. Um, Nothing feels wasted.
So, what do we think about what's going on in this first part with like the family? We have this
Uh,
mom who's just like incredibly abrasive with this grandmother who's like comatose, and this dad who's just like incredibly awkward.
This might be a bit of a stretch, but I don't know about the characters, honestly. That was something that confused me, but the chicken scene and stuff, like that looked like birth or of something.
yeah,
So
definitely.
that's the vibe I was getting, and that's why the mother's like all freaking out, is that she's upset by what her daughter and Spencer have done. So she's like, this is like the scene of her realizing it at the hospital what had happened, except for probably jacked up to like 20 million degrees higher magnitude of what it was. He's just like absolutely going bonkers at the dining table.
Oh, yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. I thought this whole scene was basically served as a way to like make us feel disgusted with the woman that he married and like or was going to marry and sort of like, dude, like what did you like get yourself into? Like and sort of well, this whole movie is sort of basically an allegory, right? For like man's discomfort at uh it's basically man's fears about domestic life and like romance and fatherhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
So uh the whole idea is that like that's like one of the awkward things about romance and like courtship, right? Is like having to meet her family. So this sort of just is part of like what is all being uh like made horrific here, right? Like that's just like another part of the experience to be made horrific. It's not just about fatherhood, right? It's also about marriage and courtship and all of these other things. So I guess that's just why it's there. And I just thought it was really effective too. Like, what kind of country bumpkin craziness did this guy stick his dick into?
Well, like, I agree. This is definitely like, well, the fear of domesticity and like traditional masculinity or the traditional man. But it's also interesting because this is like kind of the loose, crazy, like woman to woman lifestyle, right? Like the refusal to settle down. She makes this comment when um sleeps with the woman next door, or I guess the beautiful girl across the hall,
Uh huh.
because he sleeps with her and he like really enjoys it. And he comes back and he's like so like upset when he finds out that she's like sleeping with somebody else.
Wait. Oh yeah, yeah. Exactly.
It's like the if you want to have this woman to woman lifestyle, you have to accept that women, for this to be mathematically possible, the women have to go from man to man.
Yeah,
You can't just plant your seed and leave and then expect like her to with anybody else, because that's just not how it works. Like,
yeah.
every woman there has to be a man they encounter.
Hmm.
So like he can't accept the facts of this either, right? He doesn't enjoy this lifestyle of either because he finds it too much pain and like, there's all that ego death, I guess, within it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. But and it fits too, though, right? Like about what how it's all kind of part of the nightmare, right? Like you can't be happy one way, you can't be happy the other way, sort of. It's just all part of the bad experience that romance, reproduction, all of this entails. And it's such a personal film too, like because it's all about like Henry's mind and like his emotions towards um like the woman across the hall sleeping with someone else, right? Like that's so like I feel like we really get inside his head, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And the worst part is when that baby laughs at him when like the woman across the hall is sleeping with someone else, and then he like comes back in sort of dejected, and the baby just starts cackling. Oh God, it made me so angry.
Then he has like all these like nightmare sort of things. Do you guys understand these? So we have a few of them with like we have the woman, like his fantasy woman, who's like I don't even know what she's doing. She's like taking out like organs or something, and I think we talked about this though, stomping on them. Then we also have this
Wait a
one.
minute, because the stomping is definitely his desire to kill the baby.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. That's I think. Yeah, you said this already. But the other one is the baby murdering him.
Oh wait, is that after he murders it?
No, this is before.
I don't remember this
Mm,
one. Can you remind me?
Baby
Oh
like
wait,
pops
oh
off his
yeah,
head, and then his
when
head
his head pops
falls.
off. Yeah,
A little boy finds it, and takes it to, like this owner, and the owner turns into a eraser.
yeah, and like that has to be significant, right? It's like it's the titular
It's
scene.
Oedipus.
So
It's Oedipus
I feel
killing
like it
his
has to,
father.
like, even though it seemed just kind of like this wacky dream sequence, I feel like it's definitely gotta be uh really significant in some way.
Yeah, it's Oedipus killing his father. I
Why do you
think.
say that?
But I
'Cause,
don't quite know what.
like, this woman is his like dreams are like him with this like ideal woman typically,
Like,
right?
what is the meaning of like his head being turned into erasers? I don't get it.
The
I don't
thing
know
that
about that.
yeah,
Um, I don't know what the eraser head stuff means, but
that's one
uh I think
thing. The baby killing
the
him.
baby killing him is definitely like the Oedipus classic of son killing his father and taking his place as a man and stuff like that.
The thing is, the son does it over the mother, right? That's the
Mm-hmm.
other part of the Oedipus complex.
Well, not literally no. In he kills his father over like his father's like yo on the road and he's just like going back. He's just
That's
traveling
true.
and he's just like yo what's up dude. And it's like his dad he doesn't know is kind of rude to him so he's like okay I'm just gonna kill you and kills him. And he finds out later that when he's banging his mom that he's banging his mom and he killed his dad.
That whole Oedipus thing really ties into the man with the lever idea too, right? That it's like some like horrific destiny that you can't control, right? It's just someone else is up there pulling
Oh
the
yeah.
strings, forcing you into some sort of terrible
Control it
situation.
by
And
murdering the child.
yeah, right.
The theme is it's like to be happy, don't procreate.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Oedipus. This might be a bit of a stretch again, but the Oedipus thing is like the king gets a prophecy, right? And then he's like, that your son will kill you from like a prophetic dude. Doesn't matter who. It's just a Delhi prophet, but whatever. Um, uh, and then he's like, okay, here, dude, kill my son for me. Well, that or he wants to kill his son, ends up like just getting sent away and whatnot, and ends up coming back and killing him. So this is kind of like his struggle with his prophecy that his son's going to kill him.
Wait. So you're saying that in the Oedipus myth, what sets all the events into the motion is the king trying to kill the son in the first place?
Yeah,
Damn. Okay, that really like solidifies that interpretation of this movie. I feel like that's pretty strong.
Mhm. But then, next question: why Eraser?
yeah, I have no idea honestly.
Is it just supposed to be like a surreal image?
It's like a surrealism. It feels weird, right? Because it's like a pretty key part where it first comes up, and then it shows up again at the end. We get like these eraser shavings. But at both points, I mean, what do erasers do? They erase and they leave things left over. Like that's what the shavings represent is like remnants. That's a
Uh,
tough one to like work out.
they sometimes leave a shadow, so it could be shadow versus light, with the dream girl being light and his desires for killing the baby shadow. I don't know.
Hmm. The other kind of piece of the puzzle that we haven't talked about is like all this dirt by the radiator and like the tree that he has on his nightstand just growing out of the dirt.
Oh yeah,
And on top of this, so that little worm thing he keeps in the cabinet, that's marriage, right? That's like a wedding ring.
yeah, I think so.
Okay, cool. That's what I thought too, but I wanted to see if that was what y'all thought too.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure about this tree, the dirt thing. Like, it must be like some sort of commentary on growth. I mean, what? That's what trees are, right? They just grow when they grow,
I can see it.
and like the dirt's the weird part, right? I guess maybe just for the symbolism of like, what's a tree? But something that you plant to grow, and it grows far, far beyond, you know, past you by many times over.
Yeah, but what
It
about
is.
the dirt by the radiator?
Yeah, there's a very specific shot of that, and I have no idea.
I'm sure there's like scholarly articles in this film that have this all mapped out, and someone's like reading this, which big these idiots.
Yeah, right.
But eh, but we got things we can talk about. So let's like if we get ideas, definitely like please bring them up at these things.
hmm
Back to this opening-ish scene, they're only like somewhat narrative scene of the family again. Because so you think Caleb, the whole point of this is to establish that domesticity stinks and that like is that all it's saying?
Wait, the whole point of what the
Like
the
making these characters so bizarre.
yeah, well, and not just that, like comment on like domesticity of like this is what your life is going to be, but also it's literally like lampooning and making horrific the whole process of courtship. Like I said before, right? Like meeting the parents is like a whole trope, right? So this is like the horror absurd version of meeting the parents.
Yeah. I could see this for sure. And then also in addition, like there's this idea of like forcing yourself to love somebody, right?
hmm
Like this that's what the man the machine, that's what he tells you to do, right? He tells you like you gotta like this
Yeah,
girl because some reason the only way we can justify like our animalistic side is by like something more civilized there. So he's like there's like obvious contradiction between like him like having to force himself to believe what's happening is like normal,
hmm
which is like anything but normal.
yeah, that's true.
We're good on that. Do we have any more comments on this movie?
I just really like the song that the girl in the radiator sang. So pretty.
It's a good song.
I don't think we described how or mentioned how powerfully disgusting this movie is.
Yeah, good
The
call.
the shots of like the chicken birth, the baby dying, and everything else that's disgusting and off-putting is very, very disgusting and very off-putting. Like
Yeah.
it's very effective. Like
Yeah,
I
it's
could
kind of funny.
barely
Yeah,
stand the baby dying scene. I could. It was painful to watch.
because most horror movies, like anticipation is like, man, when's it coming? When am I gonna get scared? This is like, when's it coming? When's it coming? When am I gonna be disgusted? You know, it's like
That's
an equal
true.
regret, but like a very different sensation.
Honestly, I found it pretty enjoyable though. Like I didn't find it so disgusting as to be unwatchable, and I found it like pretty fun to watch, honestly. Like grossed out, but like still pretty fun. You know what I mean? Like I
Chicken stuff was rough.
in like that sort of like B movie,
Yeah, sure.
like oh man, look at that kind of vibe. You know what I mean?
Uh,
Yeah, just a couple of the things. Like when he murders the baby and like that ooze that pours out.
mhm.
Yeah, it's definitely gross, but I'm saying like I didn't feel regretful that I watched it. You know, I didn't feel
Oh,
like I wish I
definitely
had
not.
closed my
Yeah.
eyes. I was very entertained the whole time.
Derek, you says something?
And then yeah, pretty much just the sound. I already mentioned it once, but it's pretty fucking great.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. How heightened it is, and like how when she rubs her eyelid, that sound like the
Oh
I
god.
can't even do
I'm not even sure if I remember that. That sounds cool though.
it. She rubs her eyelid, and then she gives this like make a sound. And they could just amplify it by 100.
Hmm.
It was just so disgusting, horrific.
Just
You watch
generally
the movie.
when like when that the mom was like freaking out, it was just like the sound of the music and her together was just extra awful.
The dad was funny though.
Yeah. That dude was a character.
This movie had actually so many funny moments to it though.
Dinner's getting cold.
Yeah.
It's just so funny because it's like the alternative to like moment of like finding out that like having to deal with the fact that you're gonna have a child who's like alternative is eating this just demented chicken. Like it's completely warped chicken. But yeah, any more comments?
Mm-mm.
I think that's mostly it for me.
Hard to watch movie Eraserhead. And speaking of movies that were hard to watch, but for complete and different reasons, Life of Oharu. The best way to
Yeah.
tackle this movie. Should we do it like segment by segment, you guys think?
Yeah, just start from the beginning, go through, probably.
Okay, so our first segment, Oharu basically, she's a noblewoman. She falls in love with a man from a lower class. But dude, and Oharu and her whole family get thrown out. How do you guys feel about this part of the movie?
I was like, yeah, this kind of seems like a dick move. And I don't know,
On whose part?
on the court's part, and then I was like, this. But why was Oharu even with that dude? I was like, what's the worst that could happen?
I think this movie does something that we're gonna see a lot throughout the movie, or this scene in the movie does something that we'll see a lot throughout the movie, which is like it makes it very ambiguous who we're supposed to blame.
Mm-hmm.
And like, clearly, this is like at the end of the day, a societal issue, right? That's not in the question. But with this scene, I think when I was first watching it, I was like, man, jerk to this guy, right? He clearly loves her, you know, chance. And then you realize that like everyone being a jerk by pushing this so hard. Like she said no several times, and now like the repercussions are just so extreme. At the end, you don't really want to blame either. You kind of want to blame the court, but really, it's
Uh,
yeah.
in my opinion, the what we're supposed to take from this, at least, is that it's still definitely on her because she could have chosen to stay anonymous and literally just like walked away. But they were like, she's just some prostitute. And she's like, I'm not a prostitute. I'm a lady of the court. And then they were like, what? Now you're exiled. So the idea is that her pride gets her into trouble the whole way. That's like the theme of the movie, right? Is that like her pride ends up doing all these things to her. And the more prideful she is, the more she gets degraded.
Yeah, and that's making a comment on like not that it's her fault, but that the reality of this society is that a woman with pride in this society is probably not going to do very well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm not saying it's like her fault per se, but that she could do different things to make her way out of the situation a little
True.
bit easier.
She's responsible. It's not necessarily like her to blame.
Yeah, it's sort of an interesting little trick of diction, but yeah, I think we're in agreement.
Um, I could see this. I'm trying to think if this is actually like the storyline throughout the whole thing.
And then
Because even in the next part, I don't quite see it. But maybe we'll get there when we
What
get there.
part?
Choosing her and then
the Lord Matsudaira.
the Lord, not the king. I'm sorry. She gets kicked out because the king likes her too much, but I'm not, or the Lord likes her too much. I'm not sure why this is her pride's fault.
Let me think. I don't know. I can't think of a reason off the top of my head, but let me see if I can kind of delve into the thing while you guys are talking.
I
Sure.
thought it was more like I don't know. It didn't seem so much as her fault. It was just kind of a weird turn of events at that point.
Yeah, I think it's mostly just that it's like necessary, right, for uh like other events in the movie.
I think
I thought there was a reason. It was just like uh it wasn't like the same kind of reason.
Yeah.
I think Oharu is. Oh yeah, we'll get there when we get there. I think it definitely establishes some things about a lot of our character, or about Oharu, and then kind of how people react to her that are important to the rest of the movie. But back to things that I want to touch on throughout this movie as we continue kind of discussing it. And the first one is actually, I said this is the first. The first segment is really right where we're introduced with Oharu, the street prostitute, the street hooker. How did she get here? And how this story is not told. I think this is important to note. It's not told as like her telling out loud to other street prostitutes, like, this is my life story. And he makes a point of this because they literally ask her past. Like, I don't talk about my past. What it
Mm-hmm.
is it's thinking about her past. All thoughts of her past are only the negative parts. I'm not saying this is an indictment, but it's notable that like the only thing she remembers in her past, like just the negative parts, right? Which kind of leads me to the next point, which is no ups. There are no positive moments. This is like, a Mizoguchi's part.
Well, that's not true. She definitely does have good moments in her past.
No,
We
that's
don't
it.
see them.
Yeah, we don't see them.
No, because her whole relationship with the fan making thing is like the up moment, and
Which
then
we
he
don't see.
dies.
We
Yeah,
don't see this.
he specifically
Uh,
leaves out the happy moments.
We see her saying yes. It cuts to the day he dies.
and they have a little happy moment where they're like working together, and he's like, "I'm gonna buy you a thing," and she's like, "Oh, you're so sweet." And it's not long. I'll grant you that. But
The
the point is
thing
that we're given some evidence that happiness did occur in her life.
that's what I'm saying. We do know happiness occurred, but my point is that's not what she focuses on. The reason she thinks about the what is it like? It's like a scarf or it's
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
Obi or
yeah,
something.
Obi.
the obi is because this is his dying gift to her, and it's actually just like more sadness. Which, by the way, not only is it his dying gift to her, it's his dying gift to her that she didn't keep because she's like
Yeah,
this, like self-hating.
that's true.
That moment's supposed to be like this is a happy moment. This is like there's just further signs of like either in her eyes her bad luck. With
Also,
that,
to kind of come back to it briefly, um, the whole thing about like her uh in the court and ended up getting sent home. I wouldn't say it's necessarily like her being prideful, but like the reason why she gets kicked out is that she ends up becoming too devoted. Like she gets a little too above her station, where she's like not acting like a concubine anymore. She's acting like his, like his lover or his wife or something, because he's spending all of his time with her, and that results in basically people get jealous of him and they explain it away by like, oh, he's losing all his energy. We got to get rid of this girl. But it's basically that she like tries to rise above her station in a way.
is it that, or is it she tries to seek happiness? Because in that,
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I agree. But that's
yeah,
how it fits into the theme.
her inner narrative is every time I try to find happiness, things just get worse.
Hmm.
Even when
Yeah,
the king
which is
puts her
true.
out, yeah, well, but then we can argue like once again, I think there's a discussion to be had about whether like her life is quite as miserable as she makes it out to be. But even when the king finds her, her life's not that bad. Yeah, they had to get kicked out of the city and all these things, but like she has a job, her family's making money. They're not completely poor. Her status is still fine, besides the fact that like she's with this guy, but like this is easily reboundable. It's not
Mm,
really even brought up again throughout the rest of the movie. When the king finds her, she takes the opportunity, and look what happens. She almost like her trying to find happiness instead of just like being content, and her
yeah,
trying to find happiness when it's like some of these things are kind of forced upon her. But yeah,
I can get down for that interpretation of things. That the trying to find happiness is what gets her screwed over in the end.
and actually, she's like wife forces her to like do this, right? But really, it is her, like you're saying, Caleb. Like it's her wanting to be with the king, right?
Hmm.
She would be, and fine if she was just like a normal concubine, but she has to ask for more. She's like really happiness, and so
Yeah,
yeah,
the whole thing. My whole thing, this whole movie, was that there's two qualities that Oharu has. She's prideful and she's passionate. And pretty much everything she does throughout like 90% of the movie is because of one of those two traits.
Definitely get down with that. Usually both of them. Yeah.
Hmm.
Eric, do you have any commentary on this first scene with the man dying? Lover man.
I thought the probably like one of my only problems with the movies in this part, and
Really.
yeah, and it's the scene of him like telling her that he's like really likes her and stuff, and then she just like passes out, and I'm like, I was just really confused on like the logic of that scene, to be honest. And I was wondering if y'all had explanation for why that occurred and how he just like went off.
Wait, so can you describe in more detail and remind me exactly of the scene we're talking about? Because I'm not sure if
He's like,
Yeah.
they're under the tree, and they're at the house, and he's like, "Don't go to the Lord, dude. Come with me." And she's like, "No," and she walks away, goes under the tree. He follows her, and he's like, "I'll do everything for you. I love you so much," and she just like passes out.
Oh, this is like right towards the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, she passes out, and the next scene we
I don't really get the logic of her passing out and
yeah,
how
I mean,
how it goes from her passing out to her being like, "Yeah, I'll be with you," and stuff.
I guess like she's passionate and she's prideful, right? So that's the passion. Like she's so overwhelmed by like emotion for being loved by this guy, something like that.
Yeah. Seems kind of weak to me, but yeah, that's my primary takeaway, negative from that section. Otherwise, I like the cinematography a lot in that section, specifically
oh yeah, it's very nice.
how the logic of the like house is set up. It's most of the room shots are from inside, but um, inside to the outside. So it's but then the outside shots are perpendicular to the house from that angle.
Hmm.
So you get the length of the house with the outside. So interesting stuff.
I would say, really, I actually want to give my one quick complaint about this movie because it's like nothing to do with Kenji Mizoguchi really. So I'm fine just throwing it in now. This movie, like
Yeah,
What do you
I
say,
know
Matt?
where you're going with this one.
What do you say, Matt?
makeup for this movie, like I have a few major issues with a hair and makeup person. First thing, I have the exact same hairstyle. I get it, like they're samurais, they have to. Well, samurais are all like men, Japanese men this time period, similar, but like they have to be literally identical, like down to like where the hairline ends. First thing, like it's not great in that sense. Like who's who. It also just like doesn't seem very realistic. And my other issue is I can never tell how old she is throughout any point of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's. I think that was honestly a major complaint I had too, and they had to basically have this actor make sense from being 20 to 50,
Yeah,
and they did not do a good job of like making this character. She basically looks like a solid like 35 to 40
at
in
any
every
given time.
role. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You kind of. I was wondering that as well. Apparently, it was like very underfunded. So realistically, they probably just didn't have the budget for like a good makeup person or a makeup person at all.
Yeah, it's really probably nothing to do with him. It comes like his fault,
But yeah.
and she's a good job acting, so you can't blame him for like if he was part involved in that choice. Very frustrating when you're watching a movie on like a number of
Oh
levels.
yeah. That ties into
I'm like,
probably my other complaint. I wasn't going to bring it up yet, but since we did that one, that in general they don't do a very good job of distinguishing support characters in general outside of hair and makeup. So I imagine it's probably a similar thing because of underfunding, but yeah.
costuming's not that strong either. I mean, I think the costuming for some of our main characters is fine, like for her,
Yeah, definitely.
but yeah, this is an issue for sure. Before we end this like kind of first section, Toshiro Mifune spotting. Katsunosuke. Like,
What?
who's like very, very famous Japanese actor, Seven Samurai,
No, I'm
Rashomon.
confused. What are you talking about?
He plays, he plays this lover, the guy who like, dies, tells her to.
Oh, okay, I got you now. I'm with you now.
Yeah, he must have been like, how old is he?
Yeah, Toshiro Mifune. Yeah, he's in Thrones of Blood, dude. He's in Thrones of Blood.
Really, every single character on
He
movie. He's like
is.
a legend.
He's the dude. He is the dude in Thrones of Blood.
He's doing Blood. He's like the main guy in Seven Samurai.
Yojimbo.
He's in Rashomon. Literally everything. But apparently he was 32 years old this time. So I guess not that young, but only a few years into his acting career. Anyways,
Oh, good on him.
good on Kenji or whoever casted. Really finding him early. So we can go on to the section with the king. The king is
Well, technically daimyo, which makes him a lord of an area.
I keep saying daimyo, who is looking for a very specific girl to be his handmaiden, basically, so he can have a child because his wife is infertile. He specific requirements. Only Oharu fits these requirements, so they choose her. She gets whisked away to the daimyo's palace, and child, which is immediately taken away from her, but she's still happy because she had a kid, and she gets closer and closer with the daimyo until basically her consultants, or his consultants rather, that this is too much, and they send her home completely broke, which is unfortunate because this whole time her dad has basically been because he thinks that he's rich because his daughter's the handmaiden to the daimyo. What do you think of this section?
It's pretty. It's good. It's like an up moment for the most part until it isn't an up moment anymore. And those are good.
Isn't there that moment though? Because like she's pretty entire time, and the only time she's happy, the child gets immediately taken away from her.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
That
think it's an
moment.
up moment personally.
I mean, what's that moment?
Well, that she's like in a socially stable, like decent position for the first time in a long time.
But she was in a socially stable, decent position. She had like a
Huh?
job. Socially stable, decent position.
When
She had like a job.
when though?
It was like right before.
Doing what? What was her job?
She was like dancing or something. They described it like I guess like some guy taught her how to dance. She goes around like dances.
I guess I just don't remember that. Weird.
It was not a long
Yeah,
shot, so
Oh.
probably why.
very quick. But like the point is like she had a job. Her parents had a job. She was still fine.
Yeah. Her mother was kind of freaking out though.
Even though I think could be kind of missing my point. That I understand that like she's in these happy. This is not shown to us, right? We have the only things we're shown of her are like her when she's miserable.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the king, we see her arrive, where she's getting like massive shade thrown at her by his daimyo's wife, and then we see her have a child, which gets immediately taken away from her. She expresses, "I'm so happy I have a kid," and then child gets taken away from her. And then we see everyone saying they're getting too close. We don't get to see them get close because that would be a happy moment. Getting too close, and then she gets kicked out.
That's true.
One kind of more like uplifting happy moment for us as a viewer is this whole scene of him choosing the girls. I really enjoyed this scene. This like old man judging all these
Yeah.
women.
Yeah,
And,
it was
how
kind
often-
of hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your foot size? How big are your feet? Ah, no. He's like devastated.
Yeah, that was funny.
But yeah, overall, I think this is like one of the weaker portions just because they got that. I mean, yeah, it's not as interesting visually. We do get one really good shot though of when they're in that ceremony, which I think itself you can comment on more. But there's a shot of the wife. It's like the wife, the king, Oharu, all in one shot. You guys know what I'm talking about?
I believe so. Yeah, and there's like a serpent that keeps coming in from the side.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, that's a good one.
it's really good. Um, but yeah, do we have any more discussing this portion? We've kind of talked about it a bit already.
There was a cool shot towards the beginning where the mom is chasing Oharu through the trees.
Oh yes,
I loved the angle of how that was shot. It was just generally so desperate of a shot.
I like the word desperate. Yeah, like we get all these trees which are like very long and kind of like make you Oharu is imprisoned. You know what I mean? Like she's helpless.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then yeah, it's like a bit high angle too, to really show just like kind of sense of desperateness. Like she can't do anything, but then it's like ironic because like she's in this beautiful wooded area, but she's miserable. I think this is really strong stuff. But poor Haru gets kicked out with you. Is it the real? Whatever the currency is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Quite upset. He was hoping for, hundreds, thousands, and two, and be a courtesan. And our life with Haru the courtesan is pretty short, but it's like arguably the most depressing scene to me in the entire movie.
Break it down for us, Matt.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty goddamn bad.
Super rich guy comes into, what is it, like the courtesan house. He's kind of like grimy looking, like he looks poor and they think he's poor at first, but he's actually rich. So, throwing money everywhere. And Oharu's the only one to be like, I don't really care. I'm not gonna like a beggar. Like, good for her. And he's like, this actually makes me more attracted to her. So he like takes her in by herself. He's like, would you like to be my wife? I've never like had someone like I'm attracted to like this. Or I think he just says he's gonna take her away.
Well, importantly, because she doesn't take his money, the leader of the courtesan house tries to fire her.
Oh yes, that's true too. So the leader of the course house is very upset. He's about to fire her, and she's like, please don't. She's begging him, and then the woman comes down like, sir, guess what? The rich guy really wants her. So she goes up, and like I said, he asks to take her with him, and she's finally reminded this is someone who loves me or wants to be with me for love. This is so great. And then we find out that he didn't want to be with her for love. He just wanted to prove a point that money can buy anybody.
Yeah.
He's actually super poor and all his currency is fake, and he gets like chased out.
So I want to mention that I'm pretty sure Spirited Away is like super referential of this exact scene.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Actually, I haven't seen Spirited Away.
Well,
So
I know at least the
Okay.
set design is very inspired.
Yeah, well, and like the whole thing is that it's like a spirit bathhouse, and then the spirit comes in and starts literally throwing money everywhere, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!" Uh, literally, like it's like the same scene. He just like throws it around, everyone runs around after him, picking him off the ground, and then
Mm-hmm.
after he leaves, all the money disappears, and it was all fake. So it's basically this exact scene.
that's crazy.
Yep.
You know,
You have good memory.
It's a very memorable scene in both movies, so it was easy.
yeah, I think this is like to me one of the standout scenes because like how dark it is,
Hmm.
and you kind of don't know who is right on this ideological spectrum. Like, is it loved him? What it does funny throughout this movie. What it reminds me of actually is a movie that is unfortunately, we voted against for this director last week with Leclerc, where the woman saying like I've never worried about making money, so I never worry about losing it.
Oh yeah.
rings true the more you watch like all these movies to do with money, where it's like the father who's so concerned with making money is like and like has this very visceral fear of being broke. One who's like we can kind of believe that she never really cares about money because when she loses money, she doesn't seem that devastated.
Mhm.
What she's devastated by is losing love. Those who, I guess, to care about getting love, it's loved,
Yeah.
this scene.
Yeah, that's kind of what he assumes something about her, then he assumes something about him. Ultimately, she gets more depressed and fucked by life even harder.
Oh boy.
Her father buys her out, and she ends up getting married to a very nice man. There's actually a scene in between we should talk about first. She basically gets adopted by this family called because she was like very ill, and she's like hiding this from her husband. And Oharu gets like a cat fight with the wife, and she literally gets was the cat or was it a dog? What animal was it? Was it a cat?
No, it was a cat.
Take the wife's wig from her and reveal it to the husband and everybody else. But then somehow they get over it. I think this is like the moment where you really realize like Oharu really is only looking at the negative.
Wait, what do you mean they get over it? They kick her out,
They
I
don't.
think.
Yeah, they do.
Well, they do. I thought they're the ones that found her.
No, they kick her out.
Oh, answer the husband. Is that her parents?
That's what I thought. She went back to her parents, but I honestly am not super sure.
Yeah, this is when after this they're like, "Yo, get out," and she's like, "Okay." And eventually, it shows her marrying the fan maker, and
We have
then
a scene between that where she's talking to two people. I thought it was two people were.
no, those were randos, I think, or no, those were her parents.
It's either the couple or her parents because they know about her secret.
Yeah, it's definitely the parents, and then she's like marries the fan maker because they straight up kick her out.
Okay, I trust you guys. Though, who gets mugged immediately. What do we think about like these two scenes?
Which two scenes?
The scenes, well, I guess the two sets of scenes: the scenes of Oharu with the couple, and the scenes of Oharu with her very, short-term husband.
Oh, very sad, back to back, very depressing.
Anything stand out though?
Um, the scene, it's kind of interesting. You mentioned one of her standout features, Caleb, is pride, and like she, in the first scene, her undoing, I suppose, in this society is that she's not willing to just straight up give up her hair because this woman decides that she wants her to be bald too because she's jealous, and she's in a higher position, so she automatically loses.
Yeah.
And then she lives for passion and marries this fan maker, and we get a glimpse that perhaps she's happy with this guy, but that living down there and trying to be happy with your love isn't gonna do anything for you either, and that's gonna get taken from you too.
Yeah, it's I thought that whole scene with like the hair thing and like or I guess the whole set of scenes because it's kind of is like at first you feel really bad for this like rich lady, right? Because she's obviously so insecure about her hair and like you just feel like she's so vulnerable and all this thing and then like through literally no reason like the husband wasn't trying to flirt with her, but just because she finds out about Oharu's like shameful past, she assumes that her husband's gonna want to flirt with her. So then she like
She
projects
does.
her own insecurities onto Oharu because her insecurity is her hair, right? So she projects her insecurities onto Oharu by making Oharu cut her hair. And then On top of that, like you said, because the husband finds out that she used to be a whore, his opinion of her changes, and now he begins to essentially treat her like a whore and start going after her even though he shouldn't. It's just like well written on like every single level. It's so cool. It's just really tragic and beautiful in a sad way to watch play out, and just so well written.
And we get to see the flaws in Oharu too, right? Because she could have just ended it there, but she has to take it one level further.
Yeah, that's true. Because like her hair
Not
wasn't even that messed up. Let's be honest.
like you could barely tell. And thing is, she not only had to back the wife, but she had to embarrass the wife. You know, which like,
Yeah.
in Japanese culture seems a lot worse. There's humiliation aspect, and that's what feels bad.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I think the scene with the fan maker husband is like, or this segment is like arguably the weakest one. I know it's like powerful and sad, but it also feels like than everything else. You know?
I feel like it's important because it like makes it seem slightly more realistic, I guess, because it doesn't really make sense for only bad things to happen to this person, right? So it makes you have to have contrasts.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just saying in terms of, I'm not saying it's like unimportant. I think it needed to be there.
Yeah.
Like how it's written, how it's shot, it's just the least interesting.
It's
And he's
pretty.
like,
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I don't think it's bad, but I do agree that it's sort of just played like straight, right? Like, it doesn't like
hmm.
it doesn't feel like magical, right? Like, there's no like extra layer to anything.
So then Oharu mourns her husband's death, decides to join the convent that I want to ask you guys about. So basically, convent gives her or it's not by the convent, some boy like one of the local shops gives her some material out of like for free, and the boy's boss gets very mad. He goes to Oharu. Oharu is seducing him. Then the man has sexual relations with Oharu.
Oh, he rapes her.
Yeah, that he rapes her. Where do you guys stand on this?
It's just like I guess another sequence in a long line of experiences Oharu has where she can't catch a goddamn break.
What do you think? Do you think he rapes her?
Yeah, he straight up raped her.
Yeah, definitely.
Like she's like literally taking off all of her clothes in front of him.
Yeah, because he's
Yeah, that doesn't mean you
yeah.
right. For Christ's sake,
I'm like,
man.
what do you mean? No, I'm saying if you, what is the implication there? Why do you guys think she was raped? I guess I know she says this.
Oh, um, I'm pretty sure Oharu has never lied so far, so I'd trust her claims and just how upset she seems. I'd also take that, and also considering that he's coming from a position of power and um of seeking this reimbursement, and this is like that literally the bottom at this point. Pretty much, this is her last resort for happiness, and if she doesn't, the implication that if she doesn't comply, this is just gonna be another thing to take it from her.
Well, I guess my thing is when she takes off all of her clothes in front of him, like what is she thinking? Do we think this is just supposed to be like her being
Well, it's her being like
earnest?
spiteful and prideful, right? She's like, fine, you want these fucking clothes? Take them, right? Like, it's another example of her being like prideful and passionate.
What was the materials made out of? That's what I was confused about because like you really made the clothes like just now and put them all on. Believable.
That's conceivable. I don't know if it happened just that day. Like, it could have been like later that week or something.
I think I don't know. It feels a bit weird. I do agree that like she's obviously very devastated, and that's what makes you want to believe that she was raped.
I don't think
At
we
the
have
same time,
any reason to doubt.
once again, the fact that she got naked in front of him, Haru's not like a dumb person.
I mean, she was behind a screen. She wasn't like standing in front of him.
She wasn't. She's
She literally goes behind a screen, dude,
no,
and then he walks away and then comes back, and he literally
no.
he tells her.
for the audience, but he still clearly sees her. Boarded
But
like
why would it
at
doesn't
an
make any
angle.
sense. But so you think she consensually had sex with him? Why would she choose to do that?
To get the fabric is what I thought the implication was.
No. Why would she? If she was doing that to do the fabric, why would the immediately following scene be her being really upset and claiming rape?
Yeah, and like the whole room is messed
She
up.
kicked
There's
out of
like
the
clothes
convent.
thrown everywhere, and she was crying to herself. I don't know, man.
She
That's
threw the clothes. We see her throw the clothes. The clothes aren't thrown everywhere.
Yeah, from being really
it's
fucking
definitely
upset.
way messier. It's way messier than it was before.
Before with who?
Before.
Next scene, she's crying after she gets caught. I thought it was because she got kicked out of the convent.
No, it's they haven't even kicked her out yet. By that point, this is directly preceding the rape scene.
We can double check this, and we can continue on. But Ian's trying. Hey, obviously she gets crying when she gets caught. We don't see her until she gets caught.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't
So
know.
she's not kicked. She hasn't been kicked out yet at all.
But we know that she's gonna get.
No, we
If
don't.
she gets caught, you know she's getting kicked out. Dude, she's in a convent and having sex. What?
Yeah, so why would she
she not
willingly choose to have sex if it meant that she get kicked out? That doesn't really make much sense, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because people do dumb things. What do you mean? Why does that make sense?
And she's never done that. And why would she then lie? She never lied so far. And we
Why
have.
does she not like scream out in the middle of a place where other people live?
How do you know she?
Because there's no one
See what I'm
around.
saying?
Yeah, like.
What?
Like, the guy that was around, he was like, "Go away and take a long time to come back."
The guy, but I'm saying all the nuns.
Yeah, and we see the nun coming from far enough away that realistically, even if she had been closer, it probably didn't even matter.
I don't know. It just feels weird. Like I just feel like if you're gonna make this into like a definitive rape scene, why not make that more clear to us? Actual, because you could literally just like, sure, saying like no. You know what I mean? Something very simple like this. Like, why not have like anything to show her resisting? And like, as the act like super active resistance, it's literally just saying like, I don't want this. All we see is her getting naked in front of him.
She's not even getting naked. Yeah, the screen door. Okay, yeah, Matt. I'm looking at it. She specifically goes behind the curtain, and he forces himself back there. Yeah, to see, and she covers his face to make it so that she can't see him, while she's angrily and passionately giving back the fabric.
Yes, like once again, I just don't understand.
And then he goes back behind a second screen, and then he can't see anything. And then he goes to check that no one's around, and make sure that the dude leaves.
I agree that Mr. Dude leaves, but does he?
That's the implication. That's the implication of the rape right there. The only reason why you'd pay someone to immediately leave the area is if he didn't want to hear the distress.
Okay, see, I just thought that was just him, like, not wanting to hear breaking his own rules.
Like he's like, he's like creeping back, and then he's like, yeah, what am I gonna do here? Oh yeah, and then he goes pays off the dude.
I thought he paid off the dude because he's like breaking his own rules by like letting someone.
No.
Free.
All right, I think we solved that one.
No, we solved it, but it's fine. It doesn't really. I don't think it's that important.
All right, Matt. What do you still you don't like about? All right. Next scene is which one?
Kicked out of the convent. Gets kicked out of the convent, and then she's basically like about to kill herself, like literally starving herself, and then the police find her and they take her in. And then we kind of go back to our frame story. Then we find out that her son is now Damio son, but she literally gets to get a glimpse at him. Advisors are going to make her get locked up forever because they think she's an embarrassment. So she runs away and becomes a street whore again. What do you think of the ending of this film?
It's sad.
Yeah, you think it's constructed, right? Because the entire time you're watching this movie, you know that thing, like any of these like segments we talked about, you know things can't end well. Where we see her as like a street whore, right?
Hmm.
Wrong. But here it's like almost this one last trick, right? Wow, things can actually be better because we don't know the ending, right? For these 15 minutes or whatever.
Hmm.
I do think right away it's revealed that, and then you think maybe she gets to see her son.
Yeah, like he'll
Literally,
rescue her or something. Yeah, it's like this movie gave me big time Knights of Cabiria vibes, like around this part of the movie where it's like maybe after all this bad stuff everything's gonna be all right. Nope, it's not gonna be all right. It's gonna be bad.
Yeah, that scene of her running to him and then being pulled back, pretty awful.
and the crazy part is she'd rather be a street whore than be locked up, right? Which I guess what that is she's finally choosing like, right, like this life as a street whore is like one, but it's what she has, and for once she'd rather have what she has than like things go with her son, and or anything like that.
Hmm. What I found was interesting is that she was actually seemed to be happier when she was a prostitute than at any other point in the movie. Like she was
Mm,
Could,
that's
actually like
because
could she given
happy.
up, I guess?
she remembers the bad parts. Once again, these are all her memories, the bad things that have happened to her. So life as a prostitute is the actuality.
That's true.
Necessarily happier, just like we get to see A, the day to day, and B, we get to see the actuality, right? We're not just getting like the low light reel of Oharu's life.
True.
Content. She's finally content with just being, you know, kind of finding a role.
Hmm.
Well, I guess one part we didn't talk about was when she was a street whore and takes her in. And he's like, "Come on," and Young just likes like a fire for a bit and takes her over to this group of guys. Like, oh no, what could be going on? And it's funny because they talked about this at the beginning of the movie, but I had completely forgotten by this point. It's like, see this, guys? This is why you shouldn't go. This is why you shouldn't be sinful, basically, and why you should follow like Buddha. And she's like crying, of
And
course, again
that was another
because
one of those moments where it's like maybe everything will be all right because he's like saying like you'd be much less ridiculous if you just used your normal voice and all this sort of thing. So it's like you think he's actually going to be just some sweet guy that she might
yeah,
be able to spend the night with, and then nope, he's just another asshole.
like I said, it's an even bigger joke because we should know this is coming, right? She literally tells us at the beginning of this movie, like,
Yeah.
man, and but I didn't figure it out at least. I think that's why like the writing in this movie is like phenomenal.
Yeah.
Any other comments in this movie?
Mm,
It's late for us. Let's run through these awards. Favorite quote? I actually did not take notes. Life of Haru and Eraserhead had no quotes written down, so I have no favorite quote.
well, this is interesting you say that because this is the first set of movies in a long time that I actually had favorite like a substantial amount of quotes written down. And Life of Oharu had a lot for me.
One that I didn't write it down.
Okay. What was yours then?
So I didn't write it down.
Oh.
Like didn't take notes.
What are yours, Caleb?
I said
when all the prostitutes are talking and they're like, "I discussed even myself," and then they all start laughing. It's so like sad and absurd, but really powerful. Actually, no, I'm gonna change it. Sorry. It's they say it's later on in that same scene, but they say whatever we do, it doesn't make any difference to the world, which I thought was really cool because society is sort of like this big bad force in Oharu's life, and it's like when she's a prostitute, at least whatever she does doesn't make a difference to the world. So society no longer has a reason to like bother her, basically.
I think that's a good one. That one definitely stood out. That one definitely stood out to me too.
Mine would probably be the scene where the Lord Matsudara is like, yeah, telling his assistant, I guess, like, yeah, I want this kind of girl with, and yada yada, and then he's like, but the ears can't stand out or be too large, and the guy goes to start actually like being like, okay, let's start figuring this out, and he's like, and there's more. That whole scene plus the guy's expression was just really funny, and I actually laughed.
Yeah, that was definitely up there for my favorite scene. My favorite scene is probably the scene. Poor guy who was pretending to be a rich person, but like that one was definitely up there too. Caleb, your favorite scene?
In Oharu or in general?
These are, I think, our favorite awards. So in general, whatever. Yeah.
Okay. The girl in the radiator scene where she's singing, and then squishing the little bugs or the little sperm things. It was just so like spooky, and the music was really good, and uh, yeah, it just had a lot going for it. It was like the trifecta of every like Lynch trope combined, where there was like a checkered floor, there was like some really fabricy velvet curtains in the background, weird dancing, and singing. It's like those are just like the three big Lynch things, and we had all three in one spot. It was great.
Derek, is your favorite scene the one you just mentioned from Life of Horror?
Probably a shot of the beginning of Eraserhead. That plus the music was just really interesting. It reminded me of some like very specific drone ambient music. I was like Dedrick Stare, and I was like, I can see some inspiration for this artist. It was kind of cool. I I enjoyed it greatly. That's the next award, man.
Okay, so how about favorite character?
Favorite character. I'll
You
say
don't have one off top?
I'll say Oharu and
Horror's your favorite, really?
That's
Get-
crazy.
Get behind at the end.
I'll
Probably the
say
baby.
the
Baby.
baby.
Oh
Yeah,
god,
that's what I was gonna say is the baby.
that fucking gross thing.
Loved it. I actually really hated it, but also it was like phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay, best performance. This
The,
will go so hard.
yeah, the woman that played
Really?
Oharu.
I didn't feel like her. I mean, her acting wasn't bad by any means, but I didn't feel like it was outstanding.
Did you give it to Caleb?
I would say probably Henry. Back to the played Henry.
I didn't think his acting was like that. And actually, you know who was really good was his wife.
Yeah,
Mary
that's true too.
was really strong. Like she's like all these bizarre quirks.
Yeah, I liked Henry. Just felt like I could identify with him, even though he's going through so many like weird events, and he had a tendency to like use pretty subtle facial expressions to kind of like get across this necessary sense of like absurdity, I guess.
can see it.
Definitely. Okay, so now Eraserhead, is it a step up or a step down from
Lost Highway.
Lost Highway.
I'm saying Elephant Man, because you gotta
Oh, Elephant Man.
go ladder.
Oh,
Alright.
Step Up.
Step up.
I guess I go step up. Step up or step down from Lost Highway?
Step Up.
Step down.
What?
Yeah.
I was a step up.
I liked Lost Highway a lot, but I thought Eraserhead was a lot cleaner.
Yeah, definitely a cleaner film. I feel like it has a lot of things you guys liked about Lost Highway, but like without a lot of my movie.
I thought the acting was a little better. I thought it was more thematically interesting, but ultimately they're pretty similar. I just had to pick one.
Fair.
Okay, so Life of Oharu, step up or step down from Street of Shame? You step up.
I'll say, I don't know. I have Street of Shame very high.
Did you have it higher than Story of Lost Chrysanthemums?
Yeah, I'd say it's step up from Story of Last Chrysanthemums.
You're not sure about Street of Shame. I also have a step up from Story of Lost Chrysanthemums. But I think we both had Street of Shame higher. Caleb, you had Street of Shame lower than Story of Last Chrysanthemums, right? Caleb, you had Story of Last Chrysanthemums is better than Street of Shame?
That sounds most likely. I don't quite remember, but that sounds right.
It's fine. Voting. Caleb?
Uh-huh. I choose. Oh, you're making me go first. It's so hard. So hard. All these movies are so goddamn good.
All of them. All two of them.
All two of them. I'll say Eraserhead. I thought it was cleaner. I loved both of these movies a lot. But I thought Oharu was a bit long. Like, it was a little too long. And Eraserhead was just so clean. Every scene was amazing to look at and so good. So yeah, Eraserhead.
Eric?
I still can't decide, so please go first.
Gosh. As well. I think
If you're still having trouble, I can knee-jerk react, but
sure, go for it. Because I have like things. Go.
I think directorially, Life of Oharu is better, so I'll go with that.
See, I'm kind of conflicted because I think the opposite. I think
Yeah.
written incredibly well. I don't know if it's like the best directorial work. I think he does a lot of good things with like sort of thing where he like frames characters, like blocking, like frames characters and look very.
I suppose I should rephrase that. It's the best work done by that director. Specifically by the director, considering he wrote and directed and produced Life of Oharu.
That's
That's
fair.
interesting. I didn't know that.
Well, he wrote it along with somebody, to be fair, so it's kind of hard to say. Like,
Yeah, true.
but I think David Lynch also did it as well, right? He wrote writing, yeah. Eraserhead, I thought was a bit harder to watch. That's kind of just due to the
It's supposed to be
content.
that way though.
Really. Eraserhead, but they're both really good.
Woo!
Nice.
I think there might be some like resident from like me voting for Street of Shame over Cries and Whispers. I think like you may make it up. So especially David Lynch. How long it gets Woody Allen 2 podcasts from now. The next podcast is Grand Illusion. versus Yasujiro Ozu's. Oh, geez, it's Then season. Okay, which is one we just watched.
We just
And
watched
Autumn Afternoon.
I think it's late spring. This is my.
Mm,
I'm pretty sure it's late spring. Don't quote me on it. It's definitely something of this naming scheme. In our semifinal round, it is late spring.
Wow, what a guy.
oh yeah, and then Tokyo Story.
To once again, not the greatest when it comes to naming things.
I mean, not in English, but they make very much sense in Japanese. They mean very specific things. Like an autumn afternoon is in reference to the food that is very popular during that time, which is a fish, sanma. So it's very much not an autumn afternoon. It's literally the taste of sanma, which is interpreted in English as an autumn afternoon because that's when it is ate.
That's cool. That actually is really cool.
It's pretty cool.
And that's why you get all the late spring and whatnot, because he does that with every title like that.
Interesting. Illusions, because it's bad. Big illusion.
Dude, so these next movies are going to be second best movies?
Yeah.
Oh!
So to put in perspective, these movies are in the top 100 on theissuepictures.com.
Dang.
And My Grand Illusion's top 50.
Fuck.
Around, to put in perspective, it's above Doctor Strangelove or The Apartment, and it's like right below Rear Window, Blade Runner, Sunset Boulevard, Casablanca. So it's like really getting up there now.
Jesus.
I know. But
Man.
that's for next time.
You've done 62 podcasts.
Yeah.
Actually, no, we've done 30, 31.
Not even that many. No.
30.
27? 28? No, because
What?
it's 31 total. Or it's 32 total if you count the ranking one. It was on 29.
Wait, no, because it's half 64, so there's 32 total. Plus
No.
the ranking one, so 33.
No, it's because it's. I can't eliminating all but one.
Oh, you're right.
So it's 29. We're at 29 right now.
Gotcha.
So we're at semifinals and finals. But that is kind of crazy. 3 more to go. Remember, next time, Wild Grand Illusion. So then, pop with everyone here. Have a great night, weekend, year, whatever. And remember, watch more movies.